Hello, this is Joyce Latimer from Virginia Tech. I'm here today to talk about the value of using multiple applications of Configure to enhance the branching of your ornamental plants. I'd like to thank Vine Americas for sponsoring this video, as well as for a lot of the research going on with Configure, and I'd also like to thank e-GRO for hosting the videos. We've done a good bit of research with using Configure on herbaceous perennial liners, primarily to enhance the branching of those liners and give us a better product. And so I want to show you a few examples of liners that we have treated and how they grow out, whether they're treated one time or multiple times. So this is Sedum Autumn Joy. You can see the effect of treating the liners with Configure at 600 parts per million. We had basically a 5-fold increase in the number of branches on our treated liners, and they also had a greater shoot dry weight. So in this study we looked at when that application of Configure is made and whether it's a single application or 2 applications. So the first set of plants here, they were treated in the liner stage only. In other words, the plants you just saw were potted up, our untreated and our treated plants, and grown out for another 4 weeks. You can see with the plants that were treated in the liner stage only that we have no increase in branching in the final plant, the 6-week-old plant. If we make that Configure application just after transplanting instead of during the early stage, we will get an increase in branching on Sedum. We actually got a 2x increase in the branching without affecting height or shoot dry weight. However, if we make that application twice, once in the liner stage and again just after transplant, you can see that we have a 2.5 times increase in the number of branches. We also have an increase in height, although we still did not affect shoot dry weight. Let's look at Phlox Bright Eyes. In the liner stage, we had a 2x increase in the number of branches, as well as a slight increase in shoot dry weight. So if we pot those plants up and grow them out, and when they're only treated in the liner stage, we have no difference between our control and treated plants in either branching or growth. Also, if we make that application at transplant only, we have no effect on branching or growth. However, if we make that application at both times, both in the liner stage and after transplant, we do get a 2.5 times increase in the number of branches on our finished plants. We have no other effects in plant growth. Also, we had no significant difference in the days to flower with any of these treatments. So let's look at Gaillardia. This again is 2 weeks after treatment, and if you'll remember, we have reported some delays in flowering with the use of Configure on Gaillardia. So I want to talk about that as well. With our treatment in the liner stage, we did have an increase in the number of branches, slight increase in shoot dry weight, and a slight reduction in plant height. So when we pot those plants up, those that were treated in the liner stage only, we still have a slight increase, about a 17% increase in the number of branches and leaders in the finished plants, but we had no effect on shoot growth. However, we also increased the days to flower by 22 days. That's rather significant. Now I don't have a picture, but we did also treat these plants at just the after transplant stage, and we still had an 18% increase in the branching of these plants with no effect on plant growth, but we also had no delay in flowering. So we had no delay in flowering if the plants were treated after transplant with a single application. Be sure and test that on a small number of plants before you treat a large quantity. Looking at the plants on the right here, where we treated at both the liner and after transplant stage, we had a huge increase in the number of branches and leaders, 165% increase. We also increased shoot dry weight. However, these plants did not flower during the 12 weeks of our test. So that would be a significant problem in production. I would be interested in knowing if anyone has tried to propagate from these plants. With that increase in branching, if we have an increase in shoots available for propagation, I do not know whether or not the BA would affect the rooting and grow out of those propagules. So if you test that, be sure and let me know. So in summary, do consider using multiple applications of Configure for all of your plantings. Treat them once in the liner stage after rooting if you're growing your own liners. If you're purchasing finished liners, treat those when they're actively growing. And then make a second application at least 2 weeks after the first, preferably shortly after potting to their final container. And always be aware of delays in flowering. Pay attention to the popular press and to our research articles where we tell you if a crop is subject to delays in flowering with some of these PGRs. We don't want to inhibit your flowering. So thank you for joining us for the value of multiple applications of Configure for your ornamentals. And thanks again to Fine Americas and to e-GRO. Have a great day.